numbers, dividing whole numbers, with me, Catherine. What exactly is division? Well, division is just the opposite of multiplication. To solve a division problem, we want to find the number or quotient that can be multiplied by the divisor to equal the dividend. Oh my goodness, what does that mean? Here's our division symbol. The outside number, in this case the 5, is the divisor. The inside number, in this case 35, is called the dividend. And finally, the answer, 7, is called the quotient. Remember, I did say that division is the opposite of multiplication. That means 5 times 7 is 35. I get 5 from the divisor, 7 from the quotient, and 35 from the dividend. This is also how we're going to check our division problems. There are two other ways to write a division problem. We could use this division symbol. Then we have dividend divided by divisor equals quotient. That would look like 35 divided by 5 equals 7. We can also write it as divided by divisor equals quotient. 35 over 5, or 35 divided by 5 equals 7. Awesome! That crazy 0. Yes, dividing by 0 is kind of crazy. Let's say I have 5 divided into 0. That's asking us how many 5s are in 0. Well, there aren't any. There's 0. Checking it with multiplication means 5 times 0 is 0. Well, that works. That's cool. What about 0 divided into 5? How many zeros are in 5? Well, if I did the multiplication, 0 times what gives us 5? There isn't anything. So we call this undefined. Let me show you a couple more examples. 0 divided by 7 is 0. But 7 divided by 0 we can't do. That's undefined. Here's one thing you need to memorize forever in all your math classes. 0 cannot be in the denominator. No. 0 divided by 12 is 0. That's cool. But 12 divided by 0 is undefined. We can't do that. That funny 1. Yep, 1 is kind of funny. 5 divided into 5. How many 5s are in 5? That's 1. Because 5 times 1 is 5. Cool. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Just another way to rewrite it. And 5 divided by 5 is also 1. Let's start dividing. I'm going to show you piece by piece how to divide. Some of you are probably really good at this, but others of us, well, we need a little review. The first thing we're going to do is start on the far left under the division symbol. I'm looking right here at my 8, and I'm asking how many 6s can be divided into 8? I know that 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 times 2 is 12. 12 is too big, so I know that it's going to be 1 times 6. So I'm going to write the answer above the division symbol, and it goes directly above the 8. Next, I'm going to subtract 6, and I end up with 2. We're going to bring down the next number, which is my 4, and we're going to start all over again. I look here at my 2. How many 6s can go into 2? Well, it doesn't work. So now I have to look at 24. How many 6s can go into 24? Let's look at our multiplication. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. We're almost there. 6 times 4, that's 24. I'm going to write the number, the 4, above my division symbol. And then I'm going to subtract 24. And we end up with 0. 0 is our remainder. A remainder is the number left over after a quotient is found. Our last step is to check it. 6 times 14 is 84. Awesome! I know I'm right. Let's try another one. Let's go through our steps again. We start on the far left. How many 5s can be divided into 3? I'm looking right here. I start with this number. Well, we can't. So I have to look at 37. How many 5s are in 37? Now we need to start multiplying. I know that 5 times 5 is 25, and 5 times 6 is 30, 5 times 7 is 35, and 5 times 8 is 40. Well, 40 is a little too big, so we're going to use the 7. We're going to write that answer above our division symbol, and then we get to subtract. 37 minus 35 is 2. We're going to bring down the next number, which is 25. And we start all over again. I know that 5 doesn't go into 2, but 5 does go into 25. Let's figure out how many times. Well, if I look over here on my multiplication, I see that 5 times 5 is 25. Awesome! That's what I'm going to use. I'm going to write that number above the symbol, the 5 there, and then I'm going to subtract. 25 minus 25 is 0, and that's our remainder. Remember, the remainder is the number left over after a quotient is found. Let's check it by multiplication. 5 times 75 is 375. Awesome! Now it's your turn to try. Ooh. You're going to pause the lesson, divide, then press play to check. All right, let's see how you did. The first step is to see how many 9s are in 2. Remember, I'm looking at my first number. Well, I can't put 9 in. I have to look and see. So now I have to look and see how many 9s are in 24. Well, let's start multiplying to see. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27. Well, 27 is a little too big. So what we're going to do next is write our answer above our division symbol. And then we're going to subtract. 24 minus 18 is 6. We bring down our next number, and we start all over again. How many 9s are in 63? 9 times 3 is 27, so we have to go a little farther. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 7, that's 63. That's what we're going to use. So we're going to write our answer above the division symbol. And then we are going to subtract. And our remainder is 0. Let's check by multiplying. 9 times 27 is 243. Awesome! We did it right. Let's divide this one. Now we have 2 digits. Oh my goodness, but it's going to be fine. We're going to do the same thing. We look and say, well, how many 23s can go in 4? Doesn't work. So we're going to include the next number. How many 23s are in 48? Well, let's start multiplying. 23 times 1 is 23. 23 times 2 is 46. 23 times 3 is 69. It looks like it's going to be 2. I'm going to write my number above my division symbol. And then we are going to subtract. And we have a 2. Our next step is to bring down the next number, which is the 9. And we start all over again. How many 23s are in 29? Well, 23 times 1 is 23, and that's the best we're going to do. So we're going to write that number, 1, above our division. We're going to subtract again, and we have 6. The last number, 6, is our remainder. And what we're going to do is we're going to write R and then 6. How's that going to work when we try to multiply? You're going to like this. It's really cool. We take 23, which is the divisor, times the quotient of 21, and we add the remainder. That gives us 489, our dividend. Awesome! Now it's your turn to try. You're going to pause the lesson, divide, then press play to check. Let's see how you did. The first thing we say is how many 52s can go into 6? It doesn't work. So then we look at the next number. We need to figure out how many 52s go into 64. This is where we start our multiplication. 52 times 1 is 52. 52 times 2 is 104. Doesn't work, so we need to use the 1. We're going to put the 1 above our division symbol, and then we're going to subtract. 64 minus 52 is 12, and we need to bring down the next number, which is 4. And we start all over again. How many 52s are in 124? Well, we can see that 52 times 2 is 104. 52 times 3 is 156, which is too big. We're going to write the 2, 52 times 2 is 104, above our division symbol. We're now going to subtract. 124 minus 104 is 20. We're going to bring down our next number, which is 5, and we start all over again. How many 52s are in 205? Well, let's look. 52 times 3 is 156. 52 times 4 is 208. That's too big. So we need to use the 3. So we're going to write our 3 above the division symbol. And then we are going to subtract 156. And we end up with 49. Since 49 is less than 52, that turns out to be our remainder. So we're going to write R for remainder, 49. Let's check. 52 times 123 plus our remainder 49 gives us 6,445. Awesome! Remember, 52 is the divisor, 123 is the quotient, 49 is our remainder, and then finally 645 is our dividend. Here's another one for you to practice. Pause the lesson, divide, then press play to check. Let's see how you did. The first thing we ask is how many 65s are in 1? Well, it doesn't work. How many 65s are in 18? Well, that doesn't work, so we have to go to 3 digits here. How many 65s are in 186? This is when we start our multiplication. 65 times 1 is 65. 65 times 2 is 130. 65 times 3 is 195. 195 is too big, so we're going to put the 2 right here, and we're going to divide by 130. Since 0 is the last digit I am subtracting, the 2 has to be straight above it. When we subtract 130, we end up with 56. We're going to bring down our 6, and once again, we start all over. How many 65s are in 566? Well, when we left off our multiplication, we have 65 times 3 is 195. 65 times 4 is 260. 65 times 5 is 323. Oh my gosh. 65 times 6 is 390. 65 times 7 is 455. 65 times 8 is 520, which is super close. That's what we're going to use. So we're going to bring up our 8. We're going to subtract 520, and we end up with 46. We're going to bring down our 2, and we're going to look back at our multiplications. Which one is closest to 462? Well, that's going to be 65 times 7. So we're going to bring up our 7. We're going to subtract 455, and we end up with 7. 7 turns out to be our remainder. We always want to check as our last step. 65 times 287 plus our remainder of 7 gives us 18,662. Awesome! Now it's your turn to try these. We're going to do a little quiz. You're going to pause the quiz, divide, then press play to check. No peeking. Let's look at our answers. Number 1 is B. Did you check it? 17 times 21 is 357. Great. Number 2 is A. Did you check it? 45 times 36 plus a remainder of 27 is 1,647. Great. The last one is C. And when we check it, 21 times 277 plus 11 gives us our answer of 5,828. Awesome! Before we get too far, let's do a couple application problems. You picked out 145 pieces of chocolate at a chocolatier. A chocolatier is a place where they make chocolate. You have 7 friends. How many will you give each friend? Will you have any left over? Well, let's figure this out. We're going to take 145 and we're dividing it by 7 friends. Let's do our multiplication. 7 times 1 is 7 and 7 times 2 is 14. Awesome. We're going to put our 2 right here and we're going to subtract our 14. We're going to bring down our 5. Does 7 go into 5? No. So we need to put a 0 here. That also tells us that 5 is going to be our remainder. How do we read this then? Well, it tells us that each friend can have 20 chocolates with 5 left over. Let's check it. 7 times 20 plus 5 is 145. This means our 7 friends can have 20 chocolates each, and then we'll have a couple left over for us to sample. According to the Major League of Eating, they're the undisputed authority of competitive eating worldwide. Sonia Thomas ate 80 chicken nuggets in 5 minutes. Here she is. She's also known by her nickname, the Black Widow, and the leader of the 4 horsemen of the esophagus. If you want to learn more about Sonia, just go to Wikipedia. That's what I did. How many chicken nuggets did Sonia eat per minute? What are we going to do? We're going to take the 5 minutes, divide it into the 80 chicken McNuggets. Let's do our multiplication. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. It looks like we can only do 1 5. So we're going to put our 1 here. We're going to subtract our 5. And we end up with 3. We're going to bring down our 0. And we need to keep multiplying. 5 times 6 turns out to be 30. Here's our 6. Subtract the 30. And we have a remainder of 0. What exactly does that mean? That means Sonia ate 16 chicken nuggets per minute. 16! Wow! Let's check it. 5 times 16 is 80. How did I figure out Sonia ate 16 chicken nuggets per minute? Let's look at our multiplication. She has 5 minutes, and she ate 16 per minute is 80 chicken nuggets. Wow! How many 150 milliliter bottles can you fill with 3,750 milliliters of soy sauce? If you're interested in the history of soy sauce, come way down here on the bottom. Yeah, Kiko Man has a really interesting museum. They call it the Soy Sauce Museum. And they talk about the history of soy sauce. It's super interesting. But let's get back to our question. We're going to take 150 divided into 3,750. I want to know how many of these bottles I can fill out of 3,750 milliliters. Let's start our multiplication. 150 times 1 is 150. 150 times 2 is 300. That's pretty close. Here's my 2. I'm going to subtract my 300. Notice that my 2 is above the last digit of my number here. That's really important. When we subtract, we have 75. We bring down our next 0. Now we have to keep doing our multiplication. Well, 150 times 3 is 450. 150 times 5 is, hey, 750. We're going to put our 5 here, subtract our 750, and we end up with a remainder of 0. What exactly does that mean? That means you can fill 25 bottles that are 150 milliliters, just like the picture here. Let's look at our multiplication. When we look here, we have 150 milliliters, and we can fill that into 25 bottles. 150 times 25 is 3,750. Perfect! Thanks for watching, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. I enjoyed having you here. Video guides and worksheets are available for purchase for all of our picrustable lecture series. Just go to Teachers Pay Teachers. Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss the new videos. I love math, and I love showing you how to do it. Have a request? Let me know at picrustable@gmail.com or in this YouTube comment box. Did you like this video? Did you know that you can add it to Pinterest? Yeah, just follow the directions here. That would be super cool to share with your friends. Now it's time to do the worksheets in your workbook. Thanks for joining me on this video, and I can't wait till we get together again.